We are now live, Corey. So we're now on air. Everybody, welcome to this Google Hangout session that Corey and I are doing. My name is Gene Marks. I'm president of the Marks Group BC. We are located outside of Philadelphia in Ballackinwood, Pennsylvania, and we sell 5 CRM applications to our many hundreds of clients around the country. We do Salesforce.com, we do Microsoft Dynamics CRM, we do Zoho CRM, we do Goldmine, and we do a little bit with Nimble CRM, although not really a whole lot. And that's not the topic of this conversation. With me is Corey Babka. Corey
Hello.
is the VP of Operations here at the Marks Group PC, and really is in charge of all of our implementations that we do for all the CRM systems that we sell. Corey, you're also certified in Salesforce, correct?
Correct.
And
I'm
also Dynamics CRM, correct?
certified in Salesforce, Goldmine, and Dynamics, 3 of the 4 major ones that we do. Been working with all these CRM packages as well as even well before you and I met years ago, other
Right.
CRM packages, but I'd say my specialty is more relating the idea of, how does a CRM work with your process, your existing Salesforce? How does that type of thing tie into your day-to-day practices? Not necessarily a coder programmer, although you and I both know I can do it. I've done it in the
Right.
past. I prefer not to. I think my strengths lie in trying to help someone. How do I take my business and apply it to any CRM package out there and go from there? So
Good stuff. And for those of you guys watching, just so you know, Corey is wearing the blue shirt and I'm wearing the pink shirt, because a lot of times people think that we kind of look a little bit alike. Why would they think that, Corey? We'll leave it up for discussion at a later time. Okay, we only have 20 minutes here, and we want to talk about Salesforce and Dynamics CRM. Corey, let me ask you. I mean, we have many clients that are using both Salesforce and Dynamics CRM. So I'm going to throw out to you, if you could list just the 3 top things that you think differentiates Salesforce.com from Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, what would be your top 3 things? And I'll elaborate and also give a few additional ones of my own. Go ahead.
So the initial piece that always kind of throws people, the deciding factor, and we can actually bring this to the end. What it usually comes into play is cost right off the bat. I find that a bulk of our clients, they're doing their analysis. They look at the lower end models and then they go to the higher end models. They go to the Dynamics, they go to the Salesforce. And at the end of it all, they get quotes and pricing, because even though no matter what, as you and I both know, people may say money's no object, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. At the end of the day, money's the object, right? So, there is a cost issue that always comes into play, where Salesforce is a lot more expensive than Dynamics, although there are some new pricing models coming out from Salesforce, makes them a little more competitive between the 2 up against each other. But it usually comes down to cost. That's number 1. And Salesforce, I think, loses when it comes to the cost model.
And if I can just say, talk about cost, generally, and again, change, but as we're speaking now, generally Apple's versions of Salesforce is the enterprise version is $125 a month a user, and Dynamics CRM's enterprise version is $65 a month a user. So there is a pretty big difference in cost right now when you're comparing them apples to apples. Is that a safe thing to say?
That's correct. And what I would say is that the enterprise edition for Salesforce, they have the different models. Dynamics has a different costing as well. They have your full enterprise edition, they have your basic edition, and then they have what they call their non-interactive edition, which is very cheap, but that's more just SDK, API type stuff. Don't even go into that road just yet. But so you basically have your professional or your full enterprise for Dynamics at $65, you have your basic at $35, I think, a month per user. Salesforce they have a $125 enterprise, does everything. They have a $65 a month model. And that's the one that people like to compare when they're looking at Dynamics, because it's the same pricing. They're both $65. The issue is that Salesforce at $65 does not use or doesn't allow you to use the API, which means it takes away a lot of the integrations that are out there. It also eliminates the ability to do workflow, which you and I both know. Whenever we're talking about automation and CRM and why am I doing this, and I want to automate alerts or automate tasks or automate follow-up calls, notify that customer service agent, notify the manager that an opportunity closed. All those are automations. And I've worked with a bunch of clients that didn't go that extra step to the full enterprise, and they're only using professional. And you end up with this severe limitation at times where you have to come up with all these workarounds to get things done. And it can be very frustrating. So I know there are ways to argue with Salesforce and ask for little pieces here and there, and they can kind of a la carte certain parts, but it's a hard and it's a challenging thing. And if you're looking at 5 to 10 users, you're not Allstate, you're not Dunkin' Donuts, you're not L'Oreal, you don't really have that volume fight in you that can say, I want a discount based on this and this and this.
Okay.
So that's, enough of that, right? So that's the costing issue right there. Now, on the other side, the flip side, I'd say the number 2 item that I would say out there would be that Salesforce is probably a little more turnkey than Dynamics, okay? So if we're looking at costing, and it's kind of a nice segue into this piece, you're going to maybe spend less on consulting and setup and implementation service time, design, customizations, configurations. With your out-of-the-box Salesforce, you might pay more for the license, but you may pay less in service time. And the only reason I say that is because the way that the forms are set up in Salesforce, I do find that they're a little bit more, I can implement it and go. And I find there's a lot more of our clients that they started on their own. And they just say, we're going to start using it. We're just going to go for it. I think we can understand the forms. All the forms look very similar. So therefore, they're looking at it going, yeah, we can train our people. We need a little bit of design. I can do this myself, and away we go. Now, you and I both know that a bulk of our Salesforce clients are those that have tried that. And then about 6 to 8 months in, they're going, they're looking at it and saying, I need help. Right. And so what you're looking at is you end up with that extra little piece where they need the help. They need the additional design, customizations. And so therefore we get a call and there we are. And so they can start out on their own. The initial upfront cost of consulting may be less. The license might be higher. That's the one thing. Now, Dynamics on the flip side, I do find that Dynamics right out of the gate, you need some consulting time. You need some design, you need a partner, some configuration. I find that it's not as intuitive right out of the box as I wish it was. I love the product, don't get me wrong, I think it's a fantastic product, and I love the way that we can customize the stuff out of it, right? And that's a big difference with Salesforce. Salesforce, you're limited to certain things, like 2 columns down the center of the page. They all look the same. Dynamics is pretty much, I can put this over there and this over there and swap them, and I can move it whatever I want. There's a lot more freedom with the design. It's a good and a bad, right? So the bad news of that is that it can be very daunting at first when you look at Dynamics out of the box and you go, I don't know what I'm looking at, right? And so therefore I find that the implementation cost, the startup cost, you're saving on license, but you're gonna have a little bit more upfront cost with consulting, configuration, design. Right.
So let me see if I can recap then, Coach. So number 1, by the way, I'm my video. But number 1 is Salesforce does cost more than Dynamics right now. And in some cases, apples to apples, it almost twice as much for the software licensing as it is right now. However, implementing Dynamics, you're saying that you found that Salesforce implementations, at least on a basic level, cost a little bit less than when you implement Dynamics, because Dynamics you feel is a little bit more cumbersome and a little bit more complicated to get set up and going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that if we break down phase 1, you and I always talk about our projects in phases, right? And phase 1 is always is just user adoption, getting it out there, having the team. It might be some migration of data, some initial design, getting the team using it. I'm not talking about heavy integrations or anything like that. Maybe not even some custom objects just yet. Let's implement CRM as a business system into your existing processes and your day-to-day usage. I find that Salesforce is a little less on training and a little bit quicker to get us to that phase 1 if it's just strict user adoption.
Got it.
And for Dynamics, training is a little bit more. And I do all the training, as you know. I do a lot of the training for Salesforce, for Dynamics, both of those products. And I do find that the training, the the blank stares that we all know as trainers, right? The glass over effect that I have no idea what that guy is talking about in the front of the room. I find that I get that a lot more on Dynamics, where I have to spend a lot more time on basic navigation than I do with Salesforce, which is just a little bit, their navigation, like I said, it's pretty stock out of the box. You can't really change it that much. So therefore, it seems to be a little bit more intuitive. That's all. We all know Microsoft, and we love it and we hate it. There's, you know, good and bad, right, for all Microsoft products. But think about, you know, when they change things, it takes us a little while to get over that hump. When we went from Office 2003 to 2010 or 2016, there's that hump that we have to get over to find where's data sort now. And it's the same type of thing with CRM, where Salesforce has kind of looked the same since the beginning of time, you know,
Right.
the beginning of the product. And
Right.
there, like I always say, there's kind of a good and a bad to that.
So I mean, so Corey, we run into a lot of clients that are already Outlook users. I mean, there's 100 million of them around the world. So people always think like, well, you know, we should get Dynamics because we're already, you know, it's built inside of Outlook. I've actually found it to be a pretty powerful selling tool and pretty persuasive. And people do agree. They say, listen, instead of having a separate application running my CRM and then running my email and syncing them back and forth, that's what you get with a Salesforce. If you get Dynamics, it's all in one. It's all inside of Outlook. Has that been your experience? Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah. So the number 3 item I was going to say is your Microsoft integration. You know, your integration with Microsoft products between the two, Salesforce versus Dynamics. So we've already talked about cost. We've talked about the implementation and training and all that and configuration. The third one, number 3, is going to simply be Microsoft integration. Microsoft integration on the side of Dynamics has gone leaps and bounds of where it used to be 5 years ago. The Outlook integration has always been there, where you can always see CRM as a part of Microsoft Outlook. It kind of shows up as a series of folders on the left-hand side of Outlook. Mm-hmm. It's really easy for people to go there because they're used to it. Like you said, there's a comfort in staying in the same program, right? There's a comfort with staying with Outlook. And that's where they come in. Now, can I link emails? Yes. Can I link calendar entries? Can I sync my calendar back and forth? Yes. It's all kind of built into there, and we like it. Now, there's little trials and tribulations that we go through in the MS Partner world with the Outlook add-in. Certain machines react better than others, like any add-in you have with Outlook. Sometimes it's, you know, sometimes it's the Outlook client, and sometimes it's just the add-in itself is acting up. But right. On the good news, the most recent edition of CRM 2016, they've released the Outlook add-in. They call it the Outlook app.
For web, right? Outlook for web access.
That's right. So what it works with is it works with Outlook Web Access, okay, which is what we've always known as OWA. It also works very well with the portal. If you're using Office 365 and you're using Outlook within the portal, not really Outlook, but you're using like the newer Web Access is what the Outlook is. Now there's a linkage there, an add-in that allows you to link emails from there even, okay? So you've not only got it running on Outlook itself, where you can have your records are all stored within Outlook. We can also link emails, and now we can link emails if we're using Outlook Web Access. That Web Access, that web app is by hands down the best advancement they've made, because on the Salesforce side, let's go there now, there is an Outlook Exchange add-in. It actually doesn't work on the Exchange server. It's part of the Outlook client that allows you to link emails, link attachments, create new records, you know, certain things, the same type of stuff that we can do from the Outlook client. Right. The only upside is that it's more of a pane on the right-hand side, a window on the right that shows some nice information about the record, but you're still in 2 screens. I've got Outlook over here, I've got Salesforce over here. And I mean, I'm lucky, I have 2 monitors. Not everyone has 2 monitors, right? So I have Outlook open, and I might link an email over to Salesforce. Salesforce might not even be open, but I'm just linking emails all day. Right. I can do the same thing in Outlook, and Outlook does allow you to do that. So in that way, they're kind of one and the same. it goes back again to what you said, though. There's a comfort level in being able to stay in Outlook, right? To be able to say, I'm in my Outlook, now I'm in my CRM, it's still in the same area. And even though we both know it's opening up a window outside of Outlook, it looks like a mini browser or a custom browser, it's still a comfort thing to allow people to know that they're still in Outlook. Now,
so let me interrupt you. So just again as a recap, Salesforce licenses cost more than Dynamics CRM. That's one. Number two, though, implementing Dynamics CRM can cost a little bit more than implementing Salesforce. It's a little bit more complex. So that's number two. Number three, users, our clients that are Outlook users or Microsoft shops tend to just like better having the Dynamics CRM integrated within Outlook. It's not a game, it's not a game killer, but at the same time, it seems to be really well liked by our clients, particularly with this new Outlook web access. So that's number three. Is there anything, Corey, that you think that Salesforce does that Dynamics CRM doesn't? Let me first say that I can think of one thing that Dynamics CRM does that Salesforce doesn't. Dynamics CRM goes offline, right? I mean, first of all, you can purchase your own in-house Dynamics CRM, an on-premise version, if you've got the money to do it. It's kind of expensive, but it's an option. So that's certainly the case. And also, when you're in the Outlook client, you do have the ability to go offline, which would sync your data down to a local SQL database. You can unplug, get on a plane, go away, do your work, and then sync it back up again. Salesforce doesn't really give you the capability to do that. So one thing that Dynamics CRM does that Salesforce doesn't do is that sort of offline capability. Can you think of anything that Salesforce does, just one thing, big thing, that Dynamics CRM does not do in just a couple minutes that we have left?
Sure, and just to let you know, when you're talking about the offline sync, that is actually offline synchronization or offline access used to actually exist in Salesforce years ago, but they don't even talk about it anymore. Now, what's nice about Microsoft Dynamics is you do have that offline access. There's also a couple applications out there, like apps for phones and tablets, that also work with Microsoft that gives you an offline access that's outside of Microsoft. So there's kind of an open sourcing thing that allows you to do the app on the phone. Going back to your question, the big one that I always run into, and it's a frustration point for me because sometimes I get confused at which product I'm working on and when I'm talking to people. And I always say, well, we'll just automate that report, okay? And that is the big one for me. Dynamics cannot do it. We figured it out personally at the Marks Group, a way to kind of get it done. As you know, we've got some gifted and talented folks and some people that work outside, think outside the box, and they've made it happen. But what they're doing is they're doing a timed event that every Monday it sends the manager an email with a link to a Microsoft report, a CRM report. It's just a link to a website, and then they go there, right?
So Salesforce will actually deliver reports in the form of a PDF to your
Salesforce.
email.
No, it's even better than that. It's even more slick than that. If you get it set up, and it's real easy to do, you set up all of your reports inside of Salesforce, and then it asks you, do you want to schedule this? And you say, yes, I want to schedule it to come out every Monday around 4 a.m. Right now, I say that, and I say it tongue in cheek, but that's what it is. They say, when do you want this to be delivered? Because it goes into a queue of all the reports that are being run that day. You're allowed to run one an hour per organization, right? Per instance of Salesforce. But what it does is it actually comes to me in an email, grid format, right there, all my data, and they're clickable links. So if I actually have a sales report that says these are all the accounts that were called last week, here's the owner, who did it, what their time was, I can actually click on ABC Company, which will then open up into my browser, and it'll show me ABC Company, and I can go from there.
Got it.
That's a big win,
Good stuff. All right, guys, well, let's wrap this up. So just some takeaways from this talk about comparing Dynamics CRM to Salesforce. Salesforce.com licenses cost more than Dynamics CRM. Implementing Dynamics CRM costs a little bit more than Salesforce.com. If you're an Outlook or you're a Microsoft user, you're probably going to like Dynamics CRM better because it's integrated in your environment. What Dynamics CRM does better, one thing that it does better, or at least that Salesforce doesn't do, is it provides offline capability. But one definite thing that Salesforce does better than Dynamic CRM is reporting, delivering automated reports in the body of an email that you can click on to get to drill down to the data. So that's really good stuff. So Corey, I want to thank you for spending the time. I want to thank you for spending the time with us, our viewers and our clients. We'll be back sometime soon with some more differences between Dynamics CRM and Salesforce. So again, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.